chambers. It's too windy to fly this week. It's going to be next Tuesday. First flight happens. First of all, on the floats, one of the things I did is I changed the nose wheels to a solid wheel. Those are from a Matco tail wheel system, and they've made it so that I can actually steer the plane when I need to. The other tires were inflatable or air tires, and they had too much give and just would not turn when I needed them to turn. The other thing that's obvious right here in the front is, if you notice, there's two crossbars that the airplanes sit on between the float. I have a third one, and what this does is, normally the aircraft might have a cable going between the floats, and what that is used for is, like, if you come out of the cockpit on one side of the float, you come up around the front, the engine's turned off of course, and kind of walk across the wire using the prop as stability and get to the other side. The wire actually causes a lot of extra turbulence in the air because it's a round wire and flexes a little bit. This extra brace here, extra cross piece, is actually a streamlined strut fitting, and it's actually set on there so that at normal flight attitude I get a little lift out of it, hopefully. And as you can see, I got some non-skid on top of it as well. But not only the wire would keep the floats from coming apart, but it doesn't do anything about compression between the noses from side to side. So this stabilizes the platform of the floats a lot better. So that's one other mod. When the floats were built, the insides were painted with 2 coats of paint, and all the seams on the inside were coated with 3M 5200, which is a sealant, and each rivet is a blind rivet or a blind end rivet, so that the inside of the rivet is sealed off so that no water can go through the rivet even after it's been pulled. And each rivet is actually dipped in the 5200 before it's put on and popped in there, so they're pretty well watertight. There are 5 chambers that are sealed off from each other as flotation, and the little white caps on top of these things here, that's where my bilge pump fits in, and has a little tube that goes to the bottom so you can suck out the water if there's any in there for some reason. And there's also extra inspection plates. This allows inspection of both sides of the actual float pickup, and I have the same thing in the back here on this side. And then this is the inspection port for the landing gear well, which is of course open because the wheels are out. Most recently you should have seen a video where I've changed the rudder cable for the float rudders to all stainless steel along with the turnbuckles. My system of operating the rudders is a little bit different. The kit manufacturer actually has a longer yoke type stick that attaches here underneath the rudder, and the cables come over here, come down, way down to here, and then come back, where mine go inside the fuselage and actually attach to the actual rudder cables, so it makes it a little bit cleaner and neater installation. With the springs on there, it makes it so that even if it jams up, it's not going to hurt anything as far as steering of the regular air rudder. The other thing I've done is on the floats is all the mounting bolts down here. They're all stainless steel. I've also there's tubes through here. This is a double tube. You can see where it goes through as the brace, and the main parts of the tube have been covered with another piece that's aerodynamic fairing, and hopefully that makes things a little bit faster. Not that it's going to be that much faster, but we've also replaced all the hydraulic lines in the floats, including the brake lines, with the flexible aero-equip hosing, which you can see right here. The original kit came with plastic fittings and plastic hose, and they have just not proven to be reliable enough for me. So those were all changed as well. Alright, as far as the engine goes, let's get up into there. Number one, this is an 0200 Continental. The kits that are 701s are usually built with Rotax. I'm not familiar with the Rotax, so it's also a geared engine, which I don't particularly fond of. So I went with the 0200 because I'm familiar with it. The cowling nose piece here is actually a copy of one off of Piper Tri-Pacer that's got 150 horse in it instead of the 100 I have. So it's got good cooling. I have a Whirlwind ground adjustable prop, and this makes it so I can adjust the pitch of the prop and get full use of all the power of the engine. The other thing I've done is I've added an oil cooler here, and this is part of the electronic ignition. One side, where there's two separate spark plugs in each cylinder. One set is run by an electronic ignition system. The other has the standard routine magneto for reliability on both sides. And that is the pickup for the electronic ignition, and it makes it so I can't really have a spinner on top of the prop mounting because it interferes. There's not that much clearance between the prop and the thing. The other thing the aircraft has, it has a set of headers, and the headers have slip joints on them so that they shouldn't cause any stress on the cylinders. And I put a small diffuser system right here in the back of the headers just to try and alleviate the noise a little bit. And the other modification in the engine compartment is the fuel system that comes with the kit has a gasculator system that's down at the bottom of the fuselage way back over there, but it has no screen in it. So I have added this gasculator here, which is the standard aircraft gasculator that has a screen, and I also have added an electric fuel pump over here. Don't know if I'm going to need it or not, but it was easier to put in when I was building than afterwards. So that was done. The other thing that was done is the aircraft engine has a lightweight starter and a lightweight alternator. Mainly because this engine's a little heavier than the normal Rotax, and so it's trying to save weight up front. Makes my weight and balance come back into the normal range. The prop likewise is fiberglass, so it doesn't weigh hardly anything there. Okay, let's go into the fuselage here, and we'll describe some other items that were modified. Hold on. Okay, modifications within the cockpit area. Number one we can see is this is the flapper-on flap handle. This actuates the flaps. It has a 10 and a 20 degree setting. I don't know if I'll ever need to add any more, but I might add a 15 degree, whatever. The other thing that I've done here is on the control grip. I have the starter button, the trim button, and I've added actually a car horn to the aircraft. This is to get attention on the ramp in case you need it. And also if you're flying and you're going to land in some type of lake or something like that, you want to do a low pass over the area just to check it out before you commit yourself. And by blowing the horn, you're going to scare away all the birds that if you came over the trees and all of a sudden they saw you, they might fly up in front of you and cause you a real problem. So that kind of clears the area before you land. The other thing I've done is I've added this box which covers the control stick bottom part to keep anything from getting in there and interfering and jamming up the controls while I'm flying. It's just a little safety thing I did. The switches here control the switches that are on the yoke here, or the stick. And of course you can see this is my master switch here, and this is a regular car shifter boot that I use to keep dirt and stuff out of that area. The other thing I've done to this aircraft is to make it a little stronger is the normal bracing, the normal bracing for the top of the cockpit was this piece here. Okay, I have added this diagonal piece as an extra structural thing, and I've also added a diagonal brace to the back of this piece back up here as a recommended brace by the manufacturer. And all throughout the back of the cockpit there's fittings like this across all the 90-degree joints in all directions to kind of stabilize the frame and keep the fuselage from flexing or having any torsion type of thing going on. If you look up over there, that's my solar battery minder. It trickle charges the battery if it's needed. It's all sealed, so it's actually on the inside of the glass, so it doesn't have any water leaks or anything, but it keeps the battery in tip-top shape when I'm not flying, which I haven't done very much. This control handle here is for the water rudders retraction. We're in a retracted place right now. As you can see, there's a safety on the end of the handle, and as you drop that down, the water rudders do drop down. The other handle right here is to release the tow hook, which I'll show you in a little minute, and we'll discuss why that's there. I've also added this strapping here to try and keep anything from that's in the cargo compartment from coming forward, hitting me in the head if I give a hard landing or a quick stop or anything like that. And also there's these compartments here, and they cover up the air flapper-on mechanism, and they are hinged so you can open it up and get to it. This aircraft has what they call the divorced flapper-on mod, and it separates the controls of the elevator and the flapper-ons, which in the kit they are attached to the same piece of control pipe, and a lot of people don't like that, which I don't, so it's been separated, and that covers part of it. And you can see the other part here on the outside, instead of the big banana cut that usually is there to operate the flapper on, I have basically a little torque tube, and it is removable because I also have the folding wing mod. And how that works is these bolts here that hold the struts are released, as well as the spar bolts, and that's why these inspection plates are on the top of the wing, or on the bottom of the wing there near the bolts. And this piece here stays attached, and it slides out about 10 to 12 inches and then the wing actually rotates with the back up, and the struts end up over top of the fuselage, and the end of the wings actually rest in a rack that sits over top of the airplane back on by the tail. It's short of the actual stabilizer, so it kind of just folds up like a duck. It's not hard to do, but it is a little bit tedious because I have to disconnect the electrical here. There's a disconnect for the fuel line and a disconnect for the pitot line as well. And that's on both sides, except pitot line is only on the left side here. And there's actually an inspection plate where it hooks in to the thing, and you can see the pitot tube right there. The static tube has been moved. We have two vents here, one on each side of the aircraft. That's the way it was in my Tri-Pacer. And I actually, as you look through here, all my wiring and tubing comes down through this tube to try and keep it neat into the instrument area. And I just didn't have room in it for two static lines, or a static line and a pitot line and wiring, etc. So I ended up modifying. There's a static vent on the other side equal to this one, and that's another modification we did. Another modification that was done, because the engine's a little heavier than normal, there was only supposed to be one bolt here. This is a backup for the engine mount here. I added another bolt just to give it that little extra strength and to keep it from twisting. And also the bolt that goes into the middle of the mount that connects those pipes that go up to the ceiling and the fuselage. Those bolts were enlarged to the next size up, simply because of the extra strength. So that's pretty much what's going on in the cockpit. Then the other thing we've done in the fuselage is this stabilizer fin is removable. It's put down with screws instead of rivets, and that allows it to be removed so that I can easily access where the elevator cables come through in case I ever need to have maintenance or do anything like that. The other thing we've done is we have doubled up on these supports for the stabilizer. There's a service report on them to keep checking them and look for cracks, so we double them to try and make them stronger so that cracks wouldn't be a possibility. And also this fairing right here that seals this area off. Normally that would be open, but they found that as the air comes down and comes through here, that when the elevator is in its extreme position, the air kind of leaks out underneath here and spoils the action of the elevator. So by containing it and making it go straight back, the elevator has greater effectiveness. The elevator here also has vortex generators that in the normal position are actually shaded from the wind, but in its extreme nose up situation, they come into effect to avoid stalling the elevator out, so you don't nose in like you possibly do. The rudder's pretty much stock. All the fuselage, wings, and the rudder stabilizer were all painted with one coat of paint on the inside prior to them being put together, and then of course painted a couple coats on the outside. And now this is the tow hook we were talking about. This gets released in the cockpit, and it normally is in this position right there. This is not because we're going to be towing anything. I actually made this tow hook because the commercial one's about $300 or $400, and I just kind of copied the design, and it's all aluminum. And what happens is that when you're on the water, Normally before any takeoff you're supposed to check your magnetos, etc. And if you're on the water, there's no brakes. So you're out there in the middle of the lake tooling around at 15 to 1800 RPM, trying to watch where the hell you're going, as well as trying to watch what the magnetos are doing. If you have a problem, you're out there stuck in the middle of the lake. So it's kind of like not really safe. So what this is made for, its purpose, is if I'm on a dock or I'm on a beach someplace, I'll tie a rope from here, a small rope, to the beach or to the dock, and do all my run up while I'm still tied by the tail. And you know, if I have a problem, I'm still there. I'm not going out there, you know, having to worry about where I'm going, etc., etc. And then when it's time to go, I just pull that little lever. Voila! This releases, and I'm good to go. So it's just a safety thing. It didn't cost me hardly anything to do because I made everything, and it's a stainless steel cable that goes through a housing clear up to where the ceiling on the cockpit where you saw it. So that is another modification I did. Just another safety thing, I guess. Let's see what other modifications have been made. The wingtips. These wingtips are fiberglass. They're laid up, and they're, as you can tell by the noise, they're fairly solid. The kit came with some kind of Clorox bottle plastic. So it's a little bit stronger, and inside the tip, before the end plate was riveted on, this whole section in here is filled with sheets of styrofoam. They're just loose sheets that are stuck in there. They can't go anywhere. But what they're there for is in case there's ever a problem that one of the floats gets really badly damaged to where it sinks. This will allow the wingtip to hit the water, and instead of turtling clear over and rolling in under the water with water intruding into the wing, etc., that flotation will keep this wingtip from actually filling up, and it'll keep it buoyant to where the airplane will, you know, the wingtip will be in the water, but that's all the farther it'll go. So recovery-wise, it'll be a lot nicer, and hopefully it won't get too much water inside the plane. But the engine and radios and stuff will be spared dipping in the salt water. I also have an ADSB out on the tip. The airplane is wired for night lights, but it's not equipped with night lights because I'm not planning on flying at night. But it was easier to wire it, and all the wires are run through very lightweight plastic conduit, and they're just sitting right in here inside the wingtip, ready to go if anybody might ever want to actually wire them. That's pretty much most of the mods that I have done. Anyway, those are the modifications that have been done to this aircraft. I consider them improvements in the original design. They weren't too expensive to do. If you're going to do any mods, I strongly suggest you do the divorcing of the flaperons, because it just makes the airplane much better. It doesn't have a big hole here, and the controls are not ever interfering with each other. It just makes it more standard aircraft controls. I am obviously in a corrosive type environment, so I've done a lot of things to aid in trying to keep that corrosion at a minimum, and I've had to do some changes here to some of the systems. The other thing that's been done for weight and balance, if you see these two little bolts here, that is a angled heavy-duty aluminum bracket that goes clear across the bottom of the fuselage, and if you'll notice, it's right at the back of the where the access port is, and on the passenger side is where my battery is mounted on top of that bracket, and then on this side the ELT is mounted. And that just helps with my weight and balance situation. The battery I'm using is a sealed battery, so I don't have to worry about acid leaking out and everything like that. The ELT antenna is up there, and I also have a rotating beacon on top, and the rotating beacon is wired directly to the master switch, so it comes on as a safety factor as soon as I turn the master on. And I also don't ever have to worry about leaving it on accidentally because it goes off. And so anyway, that's pretty much the modifications I've made that are of any merit. There's probably a few little ones I have not mentioned. But all of them, one other thing I did is in this area here, this is where the front of the fuselage attaches to the back of the fuselage. They only had just one piece here. I actually doubled it. You can see the extra seam right there. It's doubled and spreads a little bit wider. Just as a little bit extra strength there, simply because I'm on floats and it's a little bit rougher light for an airplane to land on the water. So just a little extra strength thing I did. And of course this has the streamlined struts, which are aerodynamic. It's supposed to give you a few more miles an hour. I'm dragging floats, so it's not going to be that much difference. But the original struts were just round pipe, which are not very aerodynamic. This one, even though it's a round pipe, the actual wind is going to hit it at an angle, which it gives it a little bit more of a streamlined profile. So hopefully they're not going to be too much drag. But they make because they're a solid pipe, they made the structure and the geometry of the float mounting pretty solid. So, okay, that's pretty much the mods. It's actually over 2 pages typewritten. I think I've covered everything. So if you have any questions or are interested in how I did some of the mods, let me know. I can give you better pictures of them or whatever. That's pretty much it for the day. Hopefully the wind hasn't been too noisy. We're running about 18 to 20 today on the wind, and it's going to be that way all week. But then Tuesday, Wednesday is supposed to drop down. And hopefully the hurricane that's coming across the Yucatan Peninsula won't come over our way and give us too much trouble. But anyway, this is where we're at, and hope you enjoyed the tour. Take care.